a live feed?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jason Wheeler. If you are joining us on WFAA Plus, thanks for being here. If you're joining us from WFAA TV right now, we are breaking into your normal programming because the Texas House is set to reconvene in Austin a couple of minutes from now. And of course, they're going to be doing so minus many of their members. We want to bring in Jason Whiteley, who is just outside of Chicago this afternoon. So Jason, we're expecting this roll call in the Texas House here in the next couple of minutes when they will officially learn that they do not have quorum, that they do not have enough members present to be able to do any business, and that's because we have had dozens and dozens of Democrats from the state leave Texas to prevent any vote or movement on those new redistricting maps that are highly controversial and would be expected to give Republicans a great edge going into next year's midterm elections.
Yeah, this is standard operating procedure. What you're going to see here at the top of the hour is the Speaker of the Texas House, most likely him. He may have delegated it out, but in this situation, it's probably going to be the Speaker, walk up to the dais there at the front. He'll gavel into session. He'll ask the clerk, as usual, to call roll to make sure there is a quorum there present. A quorum, it's this murky, weird term you may not be familiar with, but it's essentially just enough members present that abides by the rules of that entity to actually conduct business. That way, Wheeler, if you and I are inside of a chamber and we're elected officials, you and I can't just make up the rules, pass them, and move on. A quorum is necessary so you have a diverse group of people in there. So the quorum rules for the Texas House of Representatives is 100 people. You have to have 100 of the 150 there. 2/3 of the body has to be present in order for the House to gavel into session and to conduct business. Today at 3 o'clock, they were going to take up the redistricting maps that were passed over the weekend by a House committee. In this situation, though, the Democrats, they didn't have any other options. The House Democrats, the minority party here in the House of Representatives and the State House in Austin, the only option they had, really, the nuclear option, the Hail Mary here, was to physically leave the state to prevent the legislature from gaveling into session and actually considering this. But the main thing that the governor wants in this special 30-day legislative session that came right after the regular session this year, priority number one, there's 18 of them on there. Priority number one, though, is to get these redistricting maps redrawn. And again, redistricting is like quorum. It's one of those things. What really is redistricting? The President of the United States here, President Trump, concerned that he might lose the narrow 3-seat majority that Republicans have in Congress. He's asking the largest Republican state, the state of Texas, and the state legislature to redraw the congressional lines. And this normally happens at the beginning of every decade. Here we are in 2025, and it's happening mid-decade. That's another reason Democrats are upset here. But the president and the president's advisors say, listen, we have maps here, Texas, you can have them, that show that we can put more Republicans in these Democratic districts and potentially defeat 5 Democratic incumbents. Vicente Gonzalez in the Valley, Henry Cuellar in the Valley, those two are targeted. Lizzie Fletcher. Those are 5 members of Congress who are going to be targeted by this map.
So Jason, I think we have some a live feed coming to us out of Austin. We just saw the speaker gaveling in there, Speaker Dustin Burrows gaveling in.
I'm here ready to work for the people of Texas. Your presence speaks volumes. You understand that the issues before us, disaster recovery, fighting for the families who lost loved ones in the floods, human trafficking, and more, are not abstract policy debates. They are real-world problems demanding immediate solutions. But instead of confronting those challenges, some of our colleagues have fled the state in their duty. They've left the state, abandoned their posts, and turned their backs on the constituents they swore to represent. They've shirked their responsibilities under the direction and pressure of out-of-state politicians and activists who don't know the first thing about what's right for Texas. To be absolutely clear, leaving the state does not stop this House from doing its work. It only delays it. And every day this chamber is unable to act, the cost grows. In response to this dereliction of duty, and pursuant to the rules of the House, I am prepared to recognize a motion to place a call on the House and any other motions necessary to compel the return of absent members. Should such a motion prevail, I will immediately sign the warrants for the civil arrest of the members who have said they will not be here. As Speaker, I will do everything in my power to establish quorum and move this body forward by any and all means available to this office. To those who are absent, return now. Show the courage to face the issues you were elected to solve. Come back and fulfill your duty, because this House will not sit quietly while you obstruct the work of the people. The people of Texas are watching, and so is the nation. And if you choose to continue down this road, you should know there will be consequences. Members, guests in the gallery, before we begin with motions, please rise and join me in prayer and then pledges to our flags.
Shall we pray? Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for your guidance and your wisdom. Help us to increase in our faith and our trust in you, even though we may not always understand your plans. Help us to acknowledge you as Lord and know that you will always make our path straight. Lord, help us to surrender our lives to your service. You created each legislative member here with unique gifts and abilities. Help them to use their position and talents to honor and glorify you. Lord, help us to see each challenge as an opportunity and to recognize that our true struggle and enemy is against the spiritual forces of evil in this world. Strengthen these men and women with your power to overcome evil with good. Lord, bless this day and the work of their hands. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Chair recognizes the Honorable Will Metcalf to lead us in the pledges of allegiance to the United States and Texas flags.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members and guests in the gallery, please join as we honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now to the greatest state in our land. Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Members, the chair recognizes Mr. Guerin for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I move a call on the House until consideration of HB 4 on third reading is completed.
Mr. Guerin moves a call in the House until consideration of HB 4 on third reading is completed. The motion has been seconded in writing by more than 15 members. The seconds will be entered into the journal.
So you have been
All those
hearing
in favor,
the
vote aye.
Texas House of Representatives
All those opposed
going
say
through
nay.
some of the motions this afternoon.
Members, actually, this is a
Republicans
record
in
vote.
that
The clerk
chamber
will ring the
had
bell.
hoped to gather to actually
Guerin voting
go
aye.
over and approve their new mid-decade redistricting maps that were released last week. But of course, as you know by now, dozens of Democratic lawmakers have left the state, have headed off to several blue states, and they are waiting this thing out. You can see the plane leaving there yesterday afternoon as they headed out to prevent the House of Representatives in Texas from having enough members to be able to approve those controversial maps. Again, what's at stake here is that Texas has 38 congressional seats, okay? Right now, Republicans hold 25 of those 38 congressional seats in Texas. By redistricting and sort of moving voters around on the map and putting new lines on it, Republicans think that they can grab 30 of those 38 congressional seats in next year's midterm elections, and that is an enormous number if they could pick up 5 more seats, because you consider right now that the Republican majority in the U.S. House of Representatives is just 3 seats. So if Democrats had to give up 5 more seats, they've really got an uphill climb as far as trying to retake that chamber in next year's midterm elections. All of this, of course, came at the request of President Trump, who asked Governor Abbott to put redistricting on the special session agenda, and the governor did indeed do that. Again, Republicans just redrew these maps and approved new maps back in 2021. Usually we only see this happen once every 10 years, but on the president's request, in order to maintain that Republican majority in the U.S. House of Representatives next year in those midterm elections, Republicans here in Texas are taking up this map. But again, they can't do it right now with so many Democrats not in the chamber this afternoon. When they were doing the Pledge of Allegiance there, I think you could get an idea of how many empty desks we were looking at there. We've got Jason Whiteley still with us just outside Chicago. Jason, I'll pitch back over to you here with a quote that came from Governor Abbott just a little while ago, saying that real Texans do not run from a fight, but that's exactly what most of the Texas House Democrats just did. Rather than doing their job and voting on urgent legislation affecting the lives of all Texans, they have fled Texas to deprive the House of the quorum necessary to meet and conduct business. Jason, Democrats would argue here that if you wanted to get things like flood relief done and better flood management done, we could have done that first before we got to redistricting. And I think, speaking with Democrats last week, I got the sense that they do consider this to be the fight, that they're not running from the fight, that by leaving, that is the fight, and the fight is going on now.
And that's what Democrats certainly think, that if flood relief was so important, make that the top priority, not redistricting. But Republicans say, listen, it doesn't matter in what order we put these 18 or 19 priorities that Governor Abbott wants, we're going to get to them in this special 30-day legislative session. Democrats say, well, if that's the case, where are any of the flood relief bills? We have less than 2 weeks left in the session, and Democrats say we haven't seen any of those. That's why this afternoon, it's not just you and I here watching what's happening in Austin. The the Democratic lawmakers here in St. Charles, Illinois, are glued to their laptops right now, glued to their phones and their tablets, watching this exact same scene unfold there in the Texas House of Representatives. There were quite a few empty desks there. A third of the chamber is empty. Just to talk about procedure there, you heard just a moment ago, State Rep Charlie Guerin, longtime Republican from Fort Worth, he got up, he made a motion to put a call on the House. That essentially gives the Speaker of the House the authority to say, listen, everyone come back, it's time to come back to convene. And if you don't come back, we're going to put out a civil arrest warrant. You hear arrest warrant, you think of, these TV shows, I'm coming to get you, but this is something that the Democratic lawmakers haven't committed a crime here. The civil arrest warrant is largely symbolic, and that's the reason that Democrats didn't go to Tennessee or Louisiana or Oklahoma, Florida, North Carolina. They went to Democratic states. They went to California the other day. Most of them right now are in Illinois. A few are in Albany. They're coming to Illinois. A few are in Boston. They're coming to Illinois tomorrow as well. They're in a Democratic state because Governor Abbott can't call up on the phone and say, listen, Governor, you have a number of lawmakers there from Texas. We'd like for you to round them up, put them on a plane, and send them back to Austin so we can go into the special legislative session and finish our business. That's not going to happen in a Democratic state. The governor here, J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, is not going to say, yeah, sure, no problem, we'll do that, Governor Abbott. That's not the case. But that's why it is symbolic. Now, a call in the House, this is getting in the weeds here, but this is important. Charlie Guerin, the state rep from Fort Worth, said, I want to put a call on the House until the third reading of the House bill, the redistricting maps. That essentially means there's going to be a call on the House. Everyone has to be here until this is done, until the redistricting maps are done. And what the call on the House is also going to mean here is if they were to come back, the Speaker could physically have the Sergeant at Arms lock the doors of the Texas House of Representatives so the lawmakers physically could not leave. Now, of course, they will not be coming back for that since they're in a Democratic state. Two other things to point out here we heard in that scene a moment ago. The Speaker Burrows says leaving the state does not stop the House business, it only delays it. The Speaker is exactly right. The Democrats know that they're not going to win this in the end. At the end of the day, Republicans are the ones winning elections in Texas. They're the ones who have the majority in the Senate, in the House, and they have all of the statewide seats too. They're going to get these redistricted, congressional seats redistricted, redrawn, so there are more Republican voters in there. They physically know that, but Democrats are slowing the process, and in slowing the process, they want to get the news cycle. They want to, get all this attention on them. That's the whole point. I asked a number of them this morning, right here on the landing in front of the river. I said, "What does a win look like for you guys?" And they said, "A win looks like us getting the issue raised, raising the flag that this is not a Texas issue. This is a national issue here. The balance of Congress, the balance of power in Congress is really what hangs in the balance here as we go into 2026. And then the final thing I would point out here, Jason, we've watched this a number of times. It was a prepared speech. Of course, it would be from the Speaker of the House. But what's interesting here is that the Speaker of the House, Dustin Burrows, you saw there, he was elected to that position by the very Democrats that have left the state, the very Democrats that are here. The Republicans there did not elect him as a Republican to be there. But since the Democrats elected him, Dustin Burrows has done everything the Republicans have wanted. He has gotten school vouchers, a huge priority passed, redistricting, a number of other things as well too. He was elected by Democrats, but he is fulfilling a lot of priorities that Republicans have, Jason, something we've talked about a lot on Y'all-itics with a number of guests.
Yeah, a lot of interesting dynamics at play here, Jason. You've been around these Democrats who left the state. Have they given you any indication how long this could take, though? Because we've seen in the past that they left the state for about a month and then came back. Do we get the sense that we're looking at something like that this time around, or could it be longer than that? I mean, you take out 51 Democrats, which is what it takes to, freeze the House in place there. You take 51 of them out of the mix. Sure. They're fined $500 each per day now for missing and not being in the legislature. So that's $25,500 a day as a group. How long do you think that they're prepared to do this?
Yes, that's a great question, a question I've been asking as well. The special legislative session ends on August the 19th. That's 16 days from now. And the Democrats here are saying, listen, the special session is, for all intents and purposes, it's over now. It's done. We're not coming back, so you might as well adjourn and forget it. Now, of course, keep in mind, the Republican governor, Greg Abbott, called the special session. He said, hey, legislature, there are a number of other issues we need to take up, redistricting, the flood relief, THC ban, a number of other things too. He can call as many special sessions as he wants to. So as you made a point earlier, Democrats cannot stay gone forever. But 16 days they can stay gone. They can get a number of news cycles. They can appear on CNN, on Fox, on the national news programs, on our air, and a number of other places to raise the issue. At the end of the day, Texas remains a Republican state. This is an issue that Republicans are going to get passed. And I asked about the money as well too. And I said, listen, who's paying for this here? I've seen some people on Twitter say, oh, it's a taxpayer-funded trip. Taxpayers are not paying for any of the Democrats to fly up here, to stay in a hotel, to eat while they're here, or anything else. The Democrats who have come up here are paying for this from their own campaign accounts. They're also paying for this through fundraising. And they said since they took off yesterday afternoon about 4 o'clock from Texas, they have had quite a bit of fundraising success, small dollar donations, a number of constituents giving to people who believe in this issue that they're standing for.
Jason, some good context there. Let's get some more of that from Alfredo Rodriguez. He is a GOP political consultant with Dice Communications. Shameless plug here. He was on with us not long ago on our Texas political podcast called Y'all-itics. Alfredo, thanks so much for being with us once again here. Is this playing out about like you saw it happening as a consultant? I mean, we've known for weeks that we were sort of building to this moment. Is this going about as you thought it would? And what do you think happens from here, from your seat?
Well, first, I want to commend Speaker Burrows for making it abundantly clear that this is not a congressional redistricting special session. This is a special session that has 18 items on the call. All of them are a priority. All of them need to be taken care of. All of them need to be addressed. So that's the first point I wanted to make. The second point I wanted to make is I doubt that fundraising is actually taking care of these free nights of hotels, the travel, the meals, the drinks, the extracurricular activities that may be taking place in these states. I'm pretty sure that Governor Pritzker and some of the other governors are shelling out some money to lavish and host these Democrats who have skipped town. We expected this. This was not a surprise. The Democrats were always going to, play, victim. They were always going to offer some sort of circus act to avoid the responsibilities that they have to the Texas legislature. And again, there are 18 items on the call. They are simply delaying addressing the flood relief. They are simply delaying addressing what we need to do with property taxes. They are simply delaying what we need to do with regards to other issues on the call.
Well, Alfredo, to the point that Democrats were making, though, last week and even into this week now, though, they're saying if those were such huge priorities, why didn't Republicans, they've got control there in the House, why didn't they put those first and put the whole redistricting fight after that and do the partisan stuff later, but get the business of Texans, especially those who suffered in the flooding, done first?
Well, we knew that this clown show and this circus show was going to happen, so let's go ahead and get it over with. So the first thing that was brought up was redistricting. That doesn't mean it's a higher priority than property taxes. Doesn't mean it's a higher priority than what to do with THC in Texas. Doesn't mean it's a higher priority to do with flood victims in Central Texas. It's simply, we knew that this was going to happen. This is the only play that Democrats have. They've decided to go ahead and exercise it, and they're abdicating their responsibilities. They need to get back and get to work. They need to do the work that they were elected to do.
Jason, are you still with us there, just outside Chicago? So Jason, tell us a little bit about this, where we head from here, because you were telling us that some of these Democrats who went off to other states are going to be headed to Illinois to join the rest, the bigger group that went to Illinois. What is the thinking behind that? Why did they go off to separate places only to convene in the same place like that?
Yeah, the whole point, again, was to get the news cycle. When I say get the news cycle, is to get attention in a number of different places. So you had State Rep Mihaela Place, a Democrat from Plano, the first Democrat in Collin County in a long time. She appeared this morning alongside the New York Governor, Kathy Hochul. You had a number of other, a handful of other Democrats who were in Boston. So they got the coverage in New York State, they got the coverage in Boston, they got the coverage here in Chicago as well. And so the idea is, for the Democrats tell me, for everyone to come back here tonight, tomorrow, and make this kind of the home base for riding out the rest of this special session. You know, I've said it here before, and it's going to happen. The Speaker said, we're just delaying. The Democrats are just delaying this. This is not stopping the House business. It's just delaying it. But it will be interesting to see. You know, this is going to go into a second special session is what's going to happen here. So after the Democrats ride this out to August the 19th, they'll stay here, and they'll likely fly back on August the 20th back to the state of Texas. And then you'll see almost immediately the governor of Texas, Governor Abbott, say, listen, you guys didn't get your work done. There's another special 30-day legislative session. Democrats know they can't stay out forever. This is going to have to be something that they do face, and they're going to have to face it likely, mid to late August. And it's going to go a lot faster next time, because the maps were not given out ahead of the public hearings. The new redrawn maps were not provided to the public ahead of those hearings. We already know what they look like now, so the committees will be able to pass them faster, and hopefully the legislature will be able to address other issues, whether it's the THC ban, the flooding relief that so many people have thought about. But this will go to a second special session, but the Democrats say, listen, it's worth it to us to pay those fines, to stay up here so that the people know the issue that we are fighting for.
So, Alfredo, I want to ask you about that because, Democrats have created attention on this issue, not just here in Texas, but nationwide. You're a consultant, you're a communications guy, you know that messaging is everything. This is important for both sides right now, isn't it, Democrats and Republicans, to get their narrative out about what's happening here and who's to blame for what's happening here, there. So the wording of all of this starts to get really crucial. The question is, how do you break through to people, especially when you're talking about something like redistricting, which, can put people to sleep when you say that word. How do you get people's attention? And are people just in their, information silos anyway, and, likely to go with whatever argument that they heard in the very beginning anyway?
Well, this was well orchestrated. They thought about this beforehand. And like you said, they didn't go to Ardmore. They didn't go to Santa Fe. They went to large media markets. They went to Chicago. They went to Albany. They're going to LA. They're going to places where they know that their presence is going to be written about and talked about on the 24-hour news cycles, on WFAA, until it's completed, until they return. This was well orchestrated. They wanted media attention. They wanted their circus to be heard and their circus to be seen. So that's why they went to these other places that possess large media markets.
And on the other end of it, Republicans have some messaging duties here as well to try to undercut arguments that Democrats are making and defend their position for why they want to push forward with this redraw of the maps mid-decade, which we usually don't see.
Sure. If I was Governor Abbott, I would bring up flood relief tomorrow. Like you said, we still have 16 days left in this session. Are they going to come back for flood relief votes tomorrow, if that's brought up? Are they going to come back for a discussion on the THC ban? Are they going to come back to discuss lowering property taxes across the state of Texas? I would force their hand, but what's likely going to happen is that this special session is all intents and purposes over. There will be a second special session, and in the end of the day, redistricting will get passed, flood relief will be addressed, property taxes will be addressed, and so will the THC issue.
Alfredo, I want to ask you, have Democrats here succeeded in one way, though, by leaving the state and bringing so much attention to this? Because we just saw Governor Gavin Newsom from California retweet, I'm sure you've seen it by now, retweet that map of California that's broken up into all its congressional districts, and the entire map is totally blue. And the person who posted it in the first place, again, he retweeted it, but the person who posted it in the first place said that you can create a 52-0 Democratic majority there in the congressional representation for California, with all of them being in safe districts, considering enough Democrat votes to put the Democrat over the top in those races. Have they succeeded in drawing attention to this to create sort of, are we going to see this arms race of redistricting spread across the country now, these big states?
Well, I would say, Governor Newsom, I dare you. I dare you. He's not going to draw a 52-0 congressional redistricting in California. Quite frankly, I'm not sure that he's even going to be able to possibly bring up redistricting in California. So this is nothing more than him, pounding his chest, getting some attention for his ultimate presidential run in 2-3 years. So, yes, they're garnering attention, but much of this is much inside baseball. The ordinary voter across the United States isn't paying all that much attention to what's going on in Texas with regards to the special session that has 18 items on the call, and redistricting happens to be one of them.
All right, Alfredo Rodriguez with Dice Communications, a political consultant for the GOP here in Texas. Thanks so much for being with us this afternoon for some added context. Whiteley, as always, thanks for bringing us more new information right there from the ground where Democrats have gone to there in Illinois as well. And thank you for being with us here on WFAA TV and on WFAA Plus, of course, for this special coverage here this afternoon. Momentous events here in Texas these days during this special session. We will be back on air and on WFAA Plus with the news starting at 4 o'clock. We hope to see you then. Now back to your regular programming.